Camera, mic, all set, ready to go whenever you are. I'd like to introduce David Greco, a longtime resident of Osaka, Japan. He broadcasts around Japan about Japanese culture and showing his travels elsewhere. So, David, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Well, great to be here.
Thanks. I guess we'll just start by I'll just ask you about your background and how you became interested in Japan and how you eventually moved here.
Well, I guess my interest in Japan started like a lot of people playing video games. Super Nintendo, I guess, was my first introduction into Japanese culture. Video games is such a huge part of the culture here, and
Yeah.
I started following, how games evolved and the systems changed too. I was reading magazines about what video games were coming out, and part of that kind of incorporated Japanese culture too.
Right.
And then as I grew up, I watched anime, and even university, I was even watching anime. So I got into culture through that, and then I started studying Japanese in university,
Right.
and I did that for 4 years. And then my professor offered me a position to teach here, and I took it. And
So in college, was that your major or just like part of your subject or?
it was a minor.
Oh, okay. I see.
Yeah,
Cool. So then you came over here. So you came to Osaka directly or someplace else?
yeah. I've been in Osaka for almost 20 years now.
Wow. All right. And so Osaka, so what do you think about the coronavirus situation here now in Osaka in Japan?
Well, it's now it's going down like it is in most places, and today was I think below 3 digits the first time. So things are getting better. Getting into the spring, and I guess they're starting the vaccines in 2 days, which is quite late compared to North America. But
I think they like to be careful here about things like they like to observe other countries, see what they, see what they can do, see how they can improve things. I've seen some reports where they're doing like role plays about giving out vaccines and things like that.
yeah, I guess a lot of it too is, yeah, thorough testing. Bureaucracy is a huge thing that's kept it uh, so delayed, the vaccines, I think. So, yeah, but I think they really need to catch up because the variants are the threat now. And the more people that are vaccinated, the quicker they're vaccinated, the less that will be a factor in continuing it spreading.
Right. And we got the Olympics coming up. Big issue there.
Yeah.
Right. All right. So let's turn our focus to technology. What do you think about that new app, the Clubhouse? Actually,
I
you're the
think,
one that introduced it to me. You sent me an invite.
yeah, I think well, I think right now it's definitely booming in terms of subscribers. I don't know how many millions of people have come on in just the past few weeks. It's only been on for about a year. It's all from word of mouth, which is a great idea. So they can kind of scale the size of the servers or whatever they use to keep the audio streams going. Um, but yeah, I mean, there's already clones coming in. Twitter Spaces has already started, which is a threat to Clubhouse, and I think, and Facebook too. Uh, it was Mark Zuckerberg was on Clubhouse. Was it like a week ago? And I think just like a couple of days later, he's like, "Let's do it," and already he's planning on cloning something similar to Clubhouse. So I think it's good because I know some of the people were saying that live video, live streaming, people were hesitant to show their face. So this kind of gets rid of that. And it's also booming a lot here in Japan where people like to be anonymous and are quite shy and
Exactly.
don't like to show their face. So that really helps a lot too.
Perfect for
Meeting,
Japanese culture.
yeah. So That's another reason why it's going so well here.
So, you and I know what Clubhouse is about, but how would you describe it to someone who's never actually used it? Because I think a lot of people are hearing the word and seeing things being posted on Instagram, like follow me or something like this on Clubhouse. But what actually could you give like a simple description, like of what it's about?
It's almost like an audio version of a lecture, or sometimes there's a panel of people on the stage talking. So and then there's people listening, and if you want to talk, you can hit the icon to put up your hand, and you can ask a question, or you can even go up onto the actual stage and become a panel member too. So it's all done on audio, and yeah, there's some big names on it too. Like they had Elon Musk and
Right. Yeah.
uh,
I attended that because of you. You
yeah,
alerted me about that. Who else was on
yeah.
there?
We have Mark Zuckerberg, Steve Ballmer from Microsoft, and I heard Elon Musk and Kanye West are gonna do one together too, coming up. Uh,
Nice. So stake your claim now, eh?
yeah, I think I mean there's gonna be obviously a few places where you can do that with Twitter and Facebook and Clubhouse. They're all very different. I think Twitter's is good because it kind of complements uh, what you're tweeting about. Like, if you're tweeting about some issue that's happening, okay, let's make a space and talk about it. Also, another thing Twitter's doing is they acquired a company called Review, and Review is it was a publishing company, digital publishing. So if you are a writer or even like a blogger or whatever, you can publish your book, or even if it's just a blog entry, people can pay for a subscription service too. And then you can open up a space to talk about it with the people who follow you or your fans if you're a celebrity. So the possibilities of integrating spaces and audio in Twitter are, there's so many possibilities there. Same thing with Facebook. And the only thing is with Clubhouse is you're kind of isolated just in that atmosphere in
Yes.
the app.
It doesn't give the like the possibilities for context with Facebook
Right.
or with Twitter because that conversation's already been started. There's a thread already happening. So that just opens up a space to kind of extend upon in a different format like audio
Right.
of
Right.
that context.
But what I heard too is that a lot of people in Clubhouse, at least the younger generation, they don't even want to be involved in the bigger social media companies like Facebook or Twitter. And they
Right.
like that Clubhouse is isolated from that. They like that it's separate from that. They don't want to be connected to that.
Wow, that's true. Well, I
So
guess, yeah.
that's an interesting perspective too.
Cool, cool, cool. So yeah, you talked a lot about Twitter just now and stuff. So I guess you're a broadcaster, and so how did you become a broadcaster, and how did you get into filmmaking and building a following on Periscope and Twitter? Did you go to film school? Did you make short films, photography? Like, how did you get into this?
I just did it from watching other people. Um, I started using the app right when it came out. So I was watching people for a few weeks,
So we're
and
talking about Periscope now.
yeah, Periscope. This was in 2015 in
Okay.
March, and I saw how people were using it, how they were interacting. A lot of it was just talking heads. I mean, people in their bedrooms just killing time. But then I did see a couple of people who actually used it to show places, and they were very engaging, very friendly, and that got me thinking, oh, this is you can do quite a bit with this app. You can engage with people uh, and use it, as a tool to get to meet people and show them things. And at first, I just kind of experimented how to use it, and then I started showing Kyoto and Osaka and interacting with people. And it did help being an early adopter. Being an
Right.
early adopter is a huge factor in
Right.
getting a lot of people watching. So that helped too. Those were That was
And
it.
so are you still using Periscope, or has Periscope evolved, and how has where is it at now?
Well, they are going to shut down the app, but the actual Periscope is actually a technology. It's a live streaming technology. So the app is going to go, but the actual technology of live streaming on Twitter is not going. So we can
Right.
still live stream. So I'll still be able to do that.
So
And
that won't so you'll still be able to keep your audience. I believe you have thousands of followers, is that right?
on the
Thousands.
Periscope app, yeah,
Yeah.
I do. Yeah.
Okay. So you'll be able to continue uninterrupted your broadcast.
Yeah. And well, if you're going to ask about how things have changed and evolved, I think that starting off, they didn't have much competition, and they were one of the pioneer. They were the pioneer, and Meerkat too was the other one.
Right.
Meerkat
Heard a little bit about
folded.
that.
Yeah, Meerkat folded because they didn't have a big social network behind them, and Periscope was bought even before it was released, and they had Twitter behind them, so they had pretty deep pockets to keep going.
And they had the advantage of, like you said, network effect.
Yeah, right. Now, what happened was services like, Facebook started, of course, they jumped in and did a copy. And then YouTube started streaming. All these other live streaming platforms came up, and that cut into their dominance. And, it evolved to that. Now it's to the point where a lot of people multi stream. So they'll stream to all the platforms uh, from one place. That's
And
the most
do you have to use
efficient.
a certain piece of software to do that, or just
Yeah, an encoder
okay?
to broadcast to Twitch. Twitch was another big competitor too.
Right. They're big in the video game space, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah,
So is that what you're doing now? Is that you're broadcasting to simultaneously to different formats? It like
yeah. So I use an app called Prism Live, and that's an encoder. And then I go through Twitch, YouTube, Periscope, and what's the other? Facebook. Yeah, those four.
oh, cool. So that's your setup for that's your workflow for every broadcast you do now.
Basically, yeah, yeah.
Wow. And you use a telephone? Do you use like what kind of device do you use to stream?
Right now, I got a iPhone 12 Pro Max, and I use a stabilizer, DJI OM4, because
Yes.
it doesn't access your stabilization in your phone when you multi-stream. If you're using
Ah,
Periscope only, it does tap into it, but for some reason, when you multi-stream, it doesn't access your
okay.
stabilization.
We'll talk more about the technology a bit later. So when you're streaming and stuff, what's your niche, or what do you like to cover?
Well, I kind of do everything. I try
Mhm.
and uh, I try and do as many different situations as possible. I think I have that kind of what's he going to do next kind of reputation. So, and even
Ah.
I don't even know what I'm going to do next. But I'm based in Japan, so it is obviously connected to Japanese culture. I do a lot of the events here. Uh, I'll show right now with the situation. Obviously, I can't do much,
Right.
but I'll do travel, a lot of travel within Japan. I do travel around the world, food, droning. I have a drone too. I use that, and yeah, those are the main things I do. So
Yeah. I was taking a look at your page, of course. I was taking a look at some of your work, and I noticed one of your recent videos in Kyoto.
mhm.
What's it like in Kyoto right now with the situation? I must be pretty dead there. I was looking at your video. Looked pretty easy to walk around there.
Yeah, there was nobody at all. I guess with the state of emergency, it's quite quiet. There was somebody who told me though that just a few weeks ago at New Year's, at Christmas time, it was very busy there. So that's only recently has changed
Right.
since then. So
So, what kind of what can you tell us about some significant experiences you've had, like streaming, things that you've done that you want to talk about?
um, wow.
Well,
Well, I think one of them was, I guess a lot of people mention the earthquake in Myanmar. Yeah, it was in
16, right?
2017, I think it was.
Okay, 2017. Okay.
And there was an earthquake in Bagan, which is in kind of central Myanmar, famous for really old temples there. And right after I finished live streaming, the earthquake struck and temples were like crumbling
Wow.
live right after.
So you actually saw the temples crumbling in front of you.
Yeah, yeah. And the reason why it was so significant is it showed the power of live streaming. What any news crew was days away from arriving,
Right.
but with my cell phone and the Periscope app, I was able to show the world what happened, how it affected that area, and it was pretty amazing.
So did you get picked up by any like news outlets for your broadcasting?
Like I was the only source, so everyone reached me. CNN, Routers, Japanese news services. I was on BBC, the New York Times, everywhere uh, was trying to get a hold of me, trying to get a footage.
What
So
was that like for you? It must have been pretty crazy.
it was insane. That I'll never forget that day. The stress of going through that and trying to shuffle through all those people getting a hold of me. I had no idea what to do.
And you're probably concerned about your safety as well, too, right? Like maybe was the earthquake's done. There's always aftershocks, and there must have been people going crazy and people running
Yeah,
around and looking for family, and maybe
yeah, yeah. It was for a few hours. It was actually the whole night. It was just crazy. People going there's in that area. There's like hundreds of temples everywhere. So and tourists at each one. So you're wondering like, did one totally collapse? Are there people buried? I could hear people screaming when I was there, but I wanted to stay away because I didn't want to get too close. I didn't know if the whole thing was going to come down. So, but I went to search for one because I saw some children there earlier. So I went to just check on them, and they were okay, but they were upset. And
right.
yeah, it was just a whirlwind of a day, just going through that. So
Power of streaming, eh?
yeah, that's definitely showed the power of live streaming.
Can you tell us about your work with in Kyoto with the miniature bonsai? I noticed you like to go to these exhibitions a lot.
Yeah,
What's
well,
that all about?
well, especially now, again with the situation, um, people who would normally overseas, they'd be attending these things, and through live streaming, I'm able to bring it into their living rooms, and despite the pandemic, they can enjoy it from wherever they are. And I'm getting a lot of views from those places, and I even get people requesting, "Can you do this? Can you go film that?"
Wow.
Uh,
I see a lot of read some of the comments and they're like, thank you for streaming this, beaming this into my living room. Thank you, David. Yeah, it's like it's must be pretty cool. People want to see this stuff, even though, because everyone's stuck at home.
and Japan is a big tourist destination. I can guarantee you, once things open up, people will be back. So all eyes are on us, and anything that they can, any content from here, people are very eager to watch. So
Well, I know like the tourism was booming. We were in the millions and millions of people coming over here, and then boom, coronavirus hit, and tourism was shut down all over the world.
yeah,
Um, what about those transparent public toilets in Tokyo? What's that all about? I saw those.
that was, I guess Tokyo did it was a whole series they did with some artists that they redid the public toilets. I guess you've used the public toilets here. They're not, they're not the nicest places. But I guess
Right.
they decided to make it into an art project, and those are one of the famous ones. In that those two little, there's just two little parks. I think it's right outside of Yoyogi Park,
Okay.
and yeah, when you close the door, it becomes opaque, and uh, you can see inside, and then when you unlock it, you can actually see inside.
Yeah, I saw one of your videos. I was like, wow, this is crazy. So yeah, for anybody who's interested in these public toilets, we'll link to all this stuff later in the show notes. So if you guys want to check that out. Um, and I noticed, like, I know one of your bigger themes too is geisha spotting. Can you tell us like what that's like? Because everyone's familiar with geisha, but like not many people have actually seen or have got in there like you.
Uh, yeah, that was something I mean, I've always watched them from afar since I've come here when I go to Kyoto, taking photos of them. And, but then when I started live streaming, I was like, why don't I do that and show people live what they're doing, them running around to their different appointments. So I filmed in, I don't really do it anymore, but I used to film in Gion
Hmm.
and at around 5:45 every day, you can see the geisha running to their appointments and having that background of the old traditional Japanese houses while the geisha running through them. It was pretty cinematic and really drew a lot of people.
Right.
So I did that for several years and it was quite popular.
Cool, cool. And I've noticed on one of your latest episodes, you went to was it the HR Geeker? Is that how, am I pronouncing his name right?
Yeah, Giger, yeah.
Yeah. How was that exhibition? I went myself. I thought it was awesome. It was amazing. Especially, I'm a big fan of movies and the Alien 1979 movie, I believe it was, the creature.
Yeah,
He designed
right.
that.
Yeah. Yeah, I was a fan of his since high school, and I'd never actually seen his sculptures, uh, in real life. So to have the chance now, especially again with nobody here, no tourists, and to enjoy it in silence was pretty amazing. Uh, there weren't it wasn't that big of an exhibit,
Yeah, it was quite small, and
but
I was like two people in there when I was there. It was
yeah,
great.
but it was good though. Whatever there was there, I remember hearing the stories about Giger's bar in Tokyo. There was the Giger
Really?
bar, they called it, and he designed it. But I guess it kind of got a bad reputation because it was taken over by Yakuza, the Japanese mafia. And then after that, he kind of disowned it. He didn't want to be associated with it.
Yeah,
But
I could see the mafia being attracted to that kind of dark style.
yeah, so it was great. It was amazing to see it in real life, his stuff.
Cool. So, so how important is the relationship between you and your live audience, and like how do you like keep people engaged, and how do you deal with it all at the same time when you're filming things, you're dealing with like the audience, you're dealing with new people coming in, you're dealing with people that you've probably know from before, plus you're trying to navigate your subject at the time.
Yeah, I think it is a skill, definitely a skill. It's something you realize is a skill when you watch YouTubers trying to live stream for the first time. So YouTube got the function to live stream fairly recently. So this is something that these YouTubers started trying to do. And it's funny watching these guys who are so professional in their videos. They're great actors, but when you
Right.
put them in front of a camera live, they're just like beginners all over again.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So it does take, you realize the skill of it when you put somebody who's never done it in front of a camera trying to do it. It is very difficult. It's all those things that you mentioned. It's hard to juggle all those things. And,
It must be.
technically the camera, keeping that going. So, but how do you do it? Well, many things. One of them is the content, obviously keeping people interested. For me, I think of it this way. There's so many distractions every day that people have in their daily lives.
Exactly.
What are you going to do to get those people to stop what they're doing and watch you? That's I think is the ultimate thing to do to get people's eyes on you. Whether it be making them cry, whether it be making them laugh, whether it making them look in awe. If you can do those things to take them away from that, then that's the first thing.
That's
And
the same with any piece of like, you know, a short film, feature
absolutely,
film.
absolutely, yeah.
People want to ride, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they want a distraction or whatever it is. Now the live streaming element, like you said, is you do have to engage with them genuinely too.
Yeah,
Uh,
I've listened to some of your broadcasts, and your voice is always so soothing. And I notice, you know, you're calling everybody by name, and you seem to have developed a, you know, a good rapport with a lot of your audience. And I think people really appreciate your style, and people appreciate your broadcasting. And I always notice that you're so well researched. Like when you lock on to something, you don't just casually observe it, but you always usually add more background to what you're talking about. So I think people appreciate that.
yeah, I think that, to answer your question specifically, the community is the first thing. It's everything. The content does grab their attention, but if that community is not there, then you're just another YouTube video, or you're just talking to yourself, and that's absolutely, I don't know, it's just pointless. I think so, especially with live streaming. Yeah, I've been doing it for 6 years, and I don't even think of it as. I think of it as the community. It's the community of people. They broadcast also. I watch them. They watch me. A lot of people are anonymous that I've never even seen before, uh,
Right.
and I've never even heard their voice, but I have a relationship with them. So that's how. I mean, I don't think of it as building a community. It's just you make friends and you hang out with them and you keep that connection if you get
Right.
along with them.
Right.
You find your tribe. That's what one person I saw, uh, that they phrased it as finding your tribe.
Good. Nice. So do you, I guess the nervousness and all that is gone for you now, or do you still get nervous when you approach like, you know, like when you have like, when you decide on a stream and you know it's going to be a tough one, like you got a lot to juggle. Do you plan for these things, or do you just do them off the top of your head, or
Yeah, I'll plan, if it's something pretty serious and I really want to nail it perfectly. I'll plan. I don't get nervous about it. I don't get nervous about it at all.
so
But yeah, I'll plan.
do you have like a pre-production process for an important stream?
Most of it, honestly, is just run and gun. Like, just do it. Honestly, that I mean, it just embodies the whole nature of live streaming. It's very spontaneous. Just do it. Uh, but I mean, in terms of location, yeah, I do choose what I'm going to do, and if there
Right.
are facts that
Do you do
I used to
research?
do more like reading notes from a sheet, but now I'll
Uh,
throw in facts if there's some silence and there's room for it. That's
Right.
not my first priority anymore.
Right. So you just go with the flow, and if you have a chance to throw a little bit of filler facts in, you just throw it in.
Yeah, yeah. So it's
Cool.
secondary. It used to be primary for me.
Right, right, and it works much better. Yeah, I've watched some of your recent broadcasts. You seem pretty. It all seems pretty like, seamless and intertwined.
Again, now because we have that community, that's more important, the relation. So I put that first before any facts I'm going to introduce. So
Cool. So do you have any favorite shooting locations in Japan or around the world even? I've noticed your stream of Greenland. Is that
yeah,
right? When did
that,
you head? When did you head there?
that was 2 years ago, uh, August of 2018. And
Oh, it's a place I'd love to go. Can you tell us a little bit about that shoot? That
yeah, that was a very expensive one. Greenland is one of the more expensive places to broadcast. I think it's almost as expensive as North Korea. Uh, Broadcasting there, I think it was about a dollar, no, sorry, $100 a gigabyte.
Oh,
So,
really?
so if you're doing, I forget, I don't even remember how much money I spent, but I spent a lot of money uh, live streaming there. Um, Data is so expensive there, yeah. So that was
Did not
one
know that.
barrier. One barrier was that, and another thing too is if you looking up information for that trip was extremely difficult because it's not a place a lot of people visit. I think there's about maybe 30,000 people a year that visit Greenland. So to
Right.
find anybody posting about where to stay or what to do, it was very difficult. A lot of people just do cruises where they just stop and get off. I didn't have much information about independent travel. I went independently. I flew in independently.
Wow, it must have been
And
tough.
I had no visual content of where I was going. I totally did it blindly, but that also made it more amazing when I was there. I was like, oh my God, this is what it looks like. I read the descriptions. I had no idea what it looked like. So it was great too because I was doing it with everybody. I was discovering it with everyone the first time seeing it. I was like, oh my God, I had no clue it was like this.
Wow. So the fact that it was $100 a gigabyte, is that what you said?
Yeah.
So did that change your shooting style? Like you must like, like when people shoot on film, like film is like very expensive. So you tend to like, you choose your shots more, you everything's just you bump up your game in terms of quality.
Well, that was my priority. So I didn't care. I was gonna I'll do whatever it takes to get the shot. Money was not an object. That was my
Okay.
priority.
Get in
So
there and get it done, eh?
yeah, so get whatever the best content I could, the best situation with the best signal, and it paid off. It was just, I mean, but any taking a shot of anything there was worth filming again because there's so little content available about what it's like there.
Yeah, I saw some of your photos too. They're just absolutely stunning, beautiful.
Yeah, so that was my attitude towards data and the cost.
So you mentioned North Korea. That's a place not many people have been. I went there on a little trip, kind of inadvertently when I was in Dandong, China, for a friend's wedding. We kind
Okay.
of took a little boat trip around the kind of like the border river of North Korea, and it was we just saw some people. We saw some North Koreans washing their clothes in the river. It
Oh
was
yeah.
just and being meanwhile being guarded by like these dudes with like machine guns
Yeah.
on the border of China there.
Yeah, they make it
What was
run
your
quick.
experience like streaming?
Um, Again, it was very expensive, the same price as Greenland, about $100 a gigabyte. Uh, to buy the actual SIM card was 250 US dollars.
Wow.
And yeah, so there's a special network there for foreign people who live there or foreign tourists, the few people who are there. I don't think anybody buys it, but and then the North Koreans, they have their own network too. So there's two separate networks.
Heavily monitored, no doubt.
Yeah. So the company I dealt with to get in there, I consulted with them quite a bit about, are you sure it's okay for me to do this? Can I do this? Can I do this?
Yeah, exactly, right?
And I did it. I did quite a bit. Sometimes it was only 3G maximum, so sometimes I didn't have a great signal. But for me, it wasn't about quality. It was about getting it. The fact that I could do it is the achievement for me. But I did
Wow.
get some clear shots, very good shots too. So
Cool. Um, so I guess this kind of leads into significant challenges. Would you regard that as one of your significant challenges? Like what during your shoots? Like have you had any massive challenges? Like I guess, you know, expensive data rates, I guess that could be one.
yeah, that's a big barrier. Uh, Another thing is when you're filming in remote locations, finding a signal that is good enough. So for example, in Myanmar, there's four telecom companies. Basically, I bought four SIM cards and I would switch all them out, find which one was the best signal and broadcast there because one company might have a better signal here, another company might have a better signal there. So I would switch through all four, trying
What
to
about like batteries and stuff like that? Like that must have been an issue, or you just, I guess just bringing like massive different battery packs and stuff like that. You guess you got to be pretty planned out.
Yeah, I always have a backup battery in case I run out. But I never had a problem so much with power like that. I was always prepared. So
What do you do if you can't get a signal? Do you ever just like, okay, I can't stream, so I'm just going to video or going to photos, or what do you do?
yeah, I'll just give up. I've done live tweeting. I've recorded and uploaded video after
Right.
because I'll upload to YouTube after too. But I know some people that stream on YouTube, they're like 720 is my lowest barrier, and if it goes anything below that, I won't even broadcast it. But for me, it's about getting the shot. I know that I've caught so much more. I got so much more content just from lowering my standard a bit more, and people don't care. If you're in
Right.
a crazy place, they just can't believe that you're there. Like North Korea, sometimes it was very pixelated, but I did one of those mass dances, and people were just like, "Whoa, this is crazy, man."
Right, right. Perfectionism, man. Yeah, that gets in the way a lot, man. Like that's me, man. Like I always have these big ideas and I'm just like, I gotta have this, gotta have that, gotta have this, and then you end up doing like nothing, or you just kind of, you get in your own way.
Yeah, I say obviously, get more content than you need, get way, way more, and you have more to work with. Obviously, live streaming, it's just a matter of capturing it. There's not much you can do after. But if the signal doesn't work, then yeah, I don't know, take some pictures for stories or get something for YouTube or tweet it out or whatever. And another thing that's important is, and in terms of what I do or what we do, document it for yourself too. Uh,
Right.
Part of this is
Shoot what you want to see.
you got to yeah, don't I mean enjoy your make sure you enjoy it too. Capture that moment. So
Exactly. Cool. So, speaking of all like uploading to the getting coverage and shooting, what's your like editing process or like your finishing process?
while live streaming, there's not really
Yeah, true.
any sort of editing or finishing. I'm
Which
trying to
might
think what
be which might be great for which might be a suitable way for a lot of people to go, because a lot of people don't have time to edit, or don't have motivation to edit.
yeah, and another reason why anybody can do it. It's just a matter of hitting live, and do you have the confidence to face the camera or to at least point the camera out and show people around? Uh, Again, it's a totally different skill set than editing and finishing. One thing you can do is optimize it through titles, hashtags, and where are you going to share out your content after? Are you going to tweet it out onto Twitter? Are you going to share it onto Instagram,
Hmm.
or wherever you can post it? On your website. That's important.
True, true. And speaking of like titles and optimizing, so has it been a huge challenge? Like I know you started off with Periscope, and then you started building Twitter as well, I guess simultaneously, and then now you're building your YouTube. So is it a lot of the same people from that come over to YouTube to listen to you, or is it different? And is there any challenges now building YouTube?
That's a good question because they're two very different platforms. I think for the for the viewer, they're very different platforms. Periscope has a very smooth chat, and the latency is very low. So for people watching, it's great for interaction because it's almost like an instant. The broadcaster can reply to you very quickly.
Right.
There's a sacrifice in video quality, but the interaction is there, which is very important, and why many people consider it probably the best live streaming app.
Right.
Whereas YouTube, their interface, particularly on a phone, it's not the greatest for chatting and interacting with other people in the chat and the broadcaster because the quality is higher. There's a bit more of a delay in people responding.
Right.
And like if you're adding somebody or replying to another person's comment, it's very difficult on a phone. On a computer, it's easier, but it's easier to at someone and reply to their message, but it's still quite difficult. So they're two different experiences for the viewer. I think YouTube is more ideal for the broadcaster,
Right.
whereas Periscope is more ideal for the
The
viewer.
listener.
The
Right.
viewer.
I see. So what about equipment? What kinds of equipment do you use? What's your main equipment and what kinds of equipment have you used in general?
I've used iPhone the whole time from the beginning. I started with like an iPhone 5 or iPhone 5, and then all the way now to the iPhone 12. So I've always used an iPhone for broadcasting,
Hmm.
and I started using the stabilizer since I've been multi-streaming.
What kind of a stabilizer do you use? Or
The DJI OM4, the magnet
okay.
one, which is great. It's probably the best one out there right now.
So just two pieces of equipment? Anything else? Like
I use a lavalier mic, sorry. Uh,
and what kind of a mic do you use? Do you know?
the Rode Smart Lav Plus.
And that just hooks directly into your cell phone or
Yeah, yeah. You can
okay.
go without it. Um, it sometimes tugs on your shirt, like if
Right.
you're because you've got the stabilizer, you've got the phone and the mic. It's kind of a bit of an elaborate setup. And when you want to be discreet, it's not the best setup. So you gotta just kind of sometimes it's good just to have your phone. You can just do that too. If it's not a windy day, if you're inside, you don't really need the mic,
Right.
the lav
And,
mic. So
and you said you're using which phone again? The iPhone 12.
12 Pro Max.
And what's that like? Because
It's
there's a lot of there's a lot of excitement about that phone and the new cameras and the functions, lidar, all this stuff.
Yeah, it's particularly amazing at night. That is where the big difference is. At nighttime, because it's such a faster lens, I think it's down to like 1.4 f1.
1.4, that's pretty good. So you can get some good shallow depth of field too, right? Maybe not at
Yeah.
night, but
No, but yeah, not that much shallow depth of field, but just the night shots are amazing. The night photography and the night video, it is so I've never seen it so bright and also crisp.
yeah, I saw some of the test photos you sent, and you had them in ProRes RAW, was it, or ProRes Apple?
And that's another advantage too, is that with the Pro series, you can start shooting in RAW, and that's pretty amazing too for editing. But the big thing is the clarity of the video at night. You know, the ISO, because the lens is so fast, the ISO is lower and you're getting a crisper video, and it just looks amazing.
So have you done any night videos now with the new phone?
Yeah, I did do one on YouTube uh, through Osaka. It looked great, but I actually accidentally deleted it. So,
Okay, I'm sure you will have some more in the future.
yeah, but I'm gonna definitely I'm gonna. That's another thing is that because it's so the quality is so good at night, I'm gonna definitely do broadcast more. I never did do broadcasts at night because the quality was so poor.
Well, now
So
you got
this,
the tech.
right, that opens up the possibilities of.
So what about photography? Like, do you like just besides broadcasting, do you just like to go out and shoot sometimes? Like you must. Like I've because I've seen some of your photos, some great photos.
Yeah,
And what do you use to shoot with?
I I use a Nikon Z7. I've used that. That's
Hmm.
my newest camera, and I used to use a Nikon D750.
Hmm.
So that was in the beginning, the first couple of years.
Also, you're interested in. I noticed you had a Fuji. Don't you have a Fuji film camera as well?
X100, yeah, X100.
Cool. I'm very interested in getting into the Fuji system for sure. I'm interested in the XT3.
Yeah, it's beautiful for street photography. I mean, I think it's considered one of the the
Yeah, they
best.
have the XT4, but I don't think I need the newest of the new. I think the XT3 will serve my function my photography fine and film.
I don't know much about the XT3. How is it different than the?
Then the XT4, maybe?
Yeah, how is it different?
Well, price for one, and the other difference is I think the XT4 has a lot more what do you call it? Film simulation modes.
Okay.
Also, it has inbuilt in-body stabilization.
Oh, that's big. Yeah.
Yeah, but from what I've seen online and the videos, it's almost like the in-body stabilization tries too hard, so it's
Uh,
almost like it becomes a little bit like jittery,
like
almost like
like wavy.
robotic, almost like robotic,
Okay.
like a bit unnatural.
Yeah.
So another way to go is you could buy stabilized lenses to put on the XT3,
Yeah. Yeah.
or you could take the proper route and use a what do you call it, a gimbal or stabilizer.
Yeah.
If if you have a really big shoot, you want to go with something more. You don't
Yeah.
want to
You're not gonna get it with software or with that. You're gonna.
exactly. You want to go with a proper solution
Yeah.
for
For sure.
sure. Um. All right. So I guess I'm just gonna look here if I have any more questions. Okay. So I guess on that note, I guess we can end the podcast. Thanks so much for being here, David. And like to give you an opportunity to say, what are you currently working on, or if you can say, and where can people find your work and social media accounts, etc.
I'm probably gonna be stuck in Japan like everybody else, so I'm gonna be broadcasting in the country. Probably gonna be traveling in Kanazawa, the Noto Peninsula. I might go up there,
Hmm.
probably uh, around and through Tokyo, and I'd like to go up to North Japan, Tohoku, the,
Nice.
that area too. So, and I'd say probably uh, my main social media
Hmm.
presence is on Twitter, Dave
Hmm.
in Osaka on Twitter. And then next to that, I'll be on YouTube, Dave in Osaka. I'm also on Facebook. I have a page there as Dave in Osaka and Twitch.
Hmm.
And that's about it. Yeah, those are my main social media places that I post to.
All right. Cool, man. Thanks for being on my show. Thanks for coming out. Thanks for your time.
Thanks for the invite.